Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. If everybody could take a seat, we are going to start in just a moment. Well, good morning and welcome to day 2 of Recon MENA 2015, the longest running and most successful conference for the shopping centre and retail industry in this part of the world. Now, organised by the Middle East Council of Shopping Centres and the International Council of Shopping Centres, it brings together the top mall professionals, retailers, management and consulting companies, architects and design firms, entertainment and leisure companies, product and service products for the industry for the 3 days of networking, deal making and exploring new business opportunities. In case you weren't here yesterday, my name is Katie Fielder and I'm very happy to be moderating the conference this year. We have another cracking day in store for you today, but first I wanted to say a little thank you to our sponsors. If you were here yesterday, you probably heard me talk a little bit about the sponsors, and then David came on stage as well, and I took him aside after the conference and said, I hope I didn't mess anything up because you obviously repeated the sponsorship mentions. And he said, no, not at all. He just said, we've been working so long and so hard on these deals. And he said, I really want to make sure that we are thanking the people who have given up so much of their time and their energy and their very hard-earned money. So a big thank you to our platinum annual sponsor, Arabian Oud. Thank you also to Mughrabi. I don't know if you've had the chance to have a look outside at their stand. It is fantastic. It is so detailed. I heard that Stephen Lebowitz, who you'll hear from shortly, he heads up more than 80 shopping malls in the US. He was particularly impressed with their display yesterday as well. So I think that's certainly a big compliment to them as well. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Arabian Centres. They're just outside there as well, the stand there. Some beautiful graphics. So make sure you do have a chance to have a look as well. Thank you as well to Keenan International Real Estate Development. They're our annual sponsor this year. Thank you also to Line Investments and Property, another annual sponsor we are very grateful to. A big thank you to Red Sea Mall, who are a gold sponsor this year. Thank you also to Intima, yet another gold sponsor we have for 2015. Big thank you to AMS, Ashwack Management and Services, another gold sponsor this year, as well as Mudon Alia Real Estate, who have also joined us as a gold sponsor. Thank you also to Cells Customer Engagement Loyalty Solution. They're one of our silver sponsors this year, as well as Al Otaim Real Estate, a fantastic Saudi sponsor who we always love to welcome as well. They're a silver sponsor this year. Thank you as well to Dalma Mall, who've also joined us as a silver sponsor, to Al Yasra Fashion, who are also with us for 2015 as a bronze sponsor this year. And it's great to see a big name from Egypt as well. Big thank you to Amma Malls. We're very pleased they could join us as a bronze sponsor this year. Thank you to Brands International, another bronze sponsor. You'll have to make sure you have a look at their best dressed man stand. They've got some very chic outfits just outside in the exhibition. Thank you to Matalan, a bronze sponsor, First for Family. We're also very grateful to Yardi, Software Solutions for Shopping Centres, who've joined us as a bronze sponsor. Big thank you as well. Our welcome reception delegate badges are coming from Keenan this year, so thank you very much for that. Line Investments put on a beautiful lunch for us yesterday up at number 5, on the podium level. Beautiful lunch out there, such a lovely time of year. So we're very grateful to them. They've also provided the delegate bags as well. Thank you to Matalan for a beautiful gala dinner cocktail as well. We're also very grateful to the Mall of Qatar. We've got a fantastic gala dinner, of course, tonight. Looking forward to seeing everybody quite dressed up tonight. Thank you to Brands International, who've also helped us out with the lanyards this year, as well as RM, of course, Reem Mall. We're very grateful to them who provided the stationery for this year. Marina Home have been providing beautiful gift bags and gifts as well. Thank you also to Brands International, again, helping us out, gala and delegate gifts as well. Big thank you again to Keenan, who've also helped us out with gala and delegate gifts. Line Investments, as well as stopping by with some gala and delegate gifts. Red Sea Mall, the same, gala and delegate gifts, so we're very grateful to them. And our official airline sponsor, none other than Emirates Airline, thank you. As well, a big thank you to ASDEF, our support partner for 2015, as well as Kingsmen, who are also helping us out as a support partnership this year. And we've got some beautiful flowers being provided this evening by V Flower Boutique for our gala dinner and awards. Thank you also to Right Selection, who are a strategic partner this year, as well as Retail and Leisure International, RLI, who are helping us out as a deal-making and media partner. Thank you also to our media partner, Khaleej Times, as well as SCT Shopping Centres today, another media partner. And finally, Hypermedia. We're very grateful they could help us out with our official technology. A quick mention of our exhibitors, if you haven't had the chance, pardon me, to have a look outside, Al Hakea Group, Amma Malls, Amusement Services International, ASDEF Production Group, Brands International, EIC Exhibit Works, Esdan Mall, First Christmas by Rosana, Iran Mall Commercial Company, LP Flex International, MacArthur & Company, Mudon Alia Real Estate, Park Eyes, Premier Marketing Management, Upscale Retail, Right Selection, and Savant Data System. Big thank you. We're all very happy you could join us. So it is a busy day ahead of us. We've got some wonderful speakers. We're also holding a number of deal-making sessions running alongside the conference as well. We have a special invitation-only executive conversation session that will be taking place after the conference this afternoon. We're also having the annual general meeting. We didn't quite get around to that yesterday. That's going to be happening during the lunch break today. And of course, our beautiful gala dinner and awards will be taking place tonight. So I think we're living in a region that has shown tremendous success when it comes to the retail market. For the UAE, where of course we have the conference this week, a new study shows that around 20% of UAE nationals go to a shopping centre more than 5 times a week. Now, for the rest of the country's population, they tend to visit around once a week, spending between 100 to 500 dirhams each time. And the retail sector has become such an essential driver of the country's economic growth, not just because of the habits of our rather well-heeled residents, but also because the sector's been able to turn a lot of tourists into buyers. So today we're going to find out how you can make the most of these opportunities. We're going to be opening today with a look at the future of the global shopping centre industry. It's certainly, I think, an area that's really driven by digital today, a word that we keep hearing a lot about. The industry is really seeing a great transformation today. It's changing the way that people shop. Consumers now want instant information, customization and gratification. Why buy one type of phone when another retailer can offer the same phone but in-store training? Why buy a normal pair of trainers when another shop can give you a fitness app to immediately measure your heart rate, your fitness level, and work out the best type of shoes for you? Or why should we wait a week or even a month to get a new product when a website perhaps can get you the same product the very next day? So our first speaker is Stephen Lebowitz today. He's the chairman of the ICSC and the president and CEO of CBL and Associates Properties based in Chattanooga in Tennessee in the US. CBL is one of the largest real estate investment trusts in the US with a portfolio of more than 80 million square feet. He's been with the company for an impressive 2.5 decades, serving as its director since its initial public offering back in the early 90s and leading a number of developments and acquisitions along the way. Today he's going to tell us why the MENA region is very close to having some of the top cities in the world when it comes to our shopping centre developments, but we still have certain challenges to face. He's also going to take us through some of the most exciting new developments, particularly when we're talking about digital and technology, everything from virtual dressing rooms to in-store digital advertising, and explain why it's so important that all of us embrace omni-channel retailing today. So without further ado, please make welcome Stephen Lebowitz.
Good morning. Come on. All right, that's better. I'm not Ron Kaufman, but thank you. So it's great for me to be here this morning, and I want to thank Katie for her nice introduction. I also want to recognize David McAdam, Sean Eldstrom, and the whole leadership for the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers for putting together a phenomenal program, for getting such great attendance. And I'd just like to thank all of you for participating, because without your involvement, without your willingness to be here and take the time and come here and participate and be involved, ICSC, that I represent as the global chairman this year, would not be nearly as successful and impactful as it is. And I think there's so much more potential, and we're just scratching the surface of what we can do. So I'm going to start off, like Katie said, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and my history so you can get to know me and my company, and also to talk about trends in the industry and what role ICSC can play in helping you as its members to advance and be even more successful in your business. So first, the shopping center industry is really at a very exciting stage today. We're in the midst of perhaps the greatest ever transformation as we adapt to a consumer who, thanks to technology, wields more power than ever before. And I think that's certainly something that everyone is very aware of. We're just beginning to see the impacts of this transformation for retailers and shopping centers. And a result of these changes, we have all in this industry become innovators and technology companies. And the MENA region is playing a lead role in this global trend. Fortunately, retailers and shopping centers are finding success in the integration of technology with brick and mortar, and as a result, our industry looks forward to an even brighter future. But before I talk about the future, I want to spend a few minutes looking back at my career, as well as that of my company and my ICSC involvement, and how the past is influencing my approach to the future. Over my career, my company and our industry have always been able to adapt to new challenges because we have embraced change. The shopping center industry and ICSC have been important parts of my entire life, and I literally mean my entire life. You can see in this picture, I'm 1 year old, and I'm seated on my dad's lap next to my grandfather and great-grandfather at the grand opening of the first open-air shopping center in our hometown, Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the United States in 1962. And even prior to that, the retail business was part of my family. And my great-grandfather, when he immigrated to the United States, opened a grocery store in downtown Chattanooga. In the 1960s and 70s, my family became involved in the shopping center development business and starting building malls throughout the southeast part of the United States. At its formation in 1978, CBL and Associates, my current company, strategy was to develop dominant enclosed and open-air malls in second-tier markets. So we were the only or the largest retail property in those markets, and had a franchise position to make us successful. And that strategy has been very successful over the years, and even today, it forms the core of our company's strategy. Shortly after I started in the business, I became active in ICSC. I learned from my early experience the unique value that ICSC brings through networking, education, and advocacy. And I also learned how rewarding working to support ICSC could be, both as a volunteer and later as a trustee and a divisional VP, and now as chairman. Over the years, many of my strongest relationships, both business and personal, have been developed through ICSC, and it is an honor for me to serve as the global chairman this year. And over my career, CBL strategy has evolved as we've worked to keep ahead of such a rapidly changing industry. In 1993, brought CBL's IPO and conversion to a public company as we joined many of the large shopping center owners in the United States, including Simon, Taubman, and GGP on the New York Stock Exchange. And while our foundation was rooted in development, and that would continue to play an important part, the era of growth through acquisitions and consolidations in the United States seriously began in the late 90s and early 2000s, and we made our largest acquisition, 21 malls, in 2001. In the mid-2000s, our business became increasingly a global one. In 2007, CBL expanded its business into China and Brazil as shopping centers emerged as a global phenomenon. And in response to this trend, ICSC ramped up its global program and opened offices in London, the Middle East, and Asia as our international membership began its growth. Back in the United States, new enclosed mall development has slowed, but mixed-use and open-air lifestyle centers have become popular with retailers and developers in response to the changing consumer and their focus on the shopping experience. More recently, the growth in our business has shifted to developing outlet centers as the recession in 2008 and 2009 drove a renewed focus on value by consumers. And as the shopping center industry in North America has matured, landlords have dedicated an increasing share of resources to redeveloping and expanding existing shopping centers, primarily former department store space. Industry-wide, we have focused on adding more restaurants, entertainment, and experiential uses to set ourselves apart from e-commerce. As I mentioned at the start, throughout my career, one lesson is clear: our company and our industry are constantly evolving. As the focus of consumers shift, retailers change, and as retailers change, shopping centers must adapt to remain relevant and successful. The Middle East region and North Africa itself has an opportunity to be at the very forefront of that change. With its young population and high household penetration of digital devices, consumers in the member countries in this region are primed for a high-energy digital experience in shopping centers. This is unquestionably among the most vibrant shopping center markets in the world, and a proactive approach to technological initiatives will keep it that way. Global retailers, as is evident from seeing the projects here, are still keenly anxious to expand throughout this region, and an impressive amount of pre-leased retail space is under construction. Developers and retailers alike are signaling their confidence in the future of the industry here. It is especially interesting for me in my travels to note how much growth is occurring in our industry outside of North America. I am extremely impressed with the growth that I've seen in the Middle East and North Africa, and also that I've heard of. Just 2 weeks ago, I traveled to Recon Asia in Taiwan and saw staggering growth in that part of the world. And as this slide says, according to CBR research, mainland China accounted for no less than 60% of the global development pipeline at the end of 2014. 9 of its cities ranked in the top 10 for development, with another Asian city, Bangkok, making the 10th. In the Gulf, the UAE is the leading producer of new retail space, but demand for new space has been strong enough to keep rents moving upward. In many other parts of the MENA region, high incomes have led to an ongoing mismatch between strong demand and undersupply. This suggests that construction activity will be quite robust for years to come. In fact, GDP growth across MENA is forecast by the IMF to hit 2.6% this year, an increase to 3.8% next. Across my travels, I've seen that technology and innovation have become the buzzwords dominating our business. New groups such as Westfield Labs, ECE Labs, Simon Venture Group, and for us, CBL 2.0, are working and spending a lot of resources to determine how shopping centers can integrate technology to drive traffic and revenues. Retailers have embraced omni-channel strategies to better serve their customers, and shopping center owners are working with them to figure out how best to facilitate this effort. Our centers are taking on an expanded role in society. They're becoming more functional, more experiential, and more social at the same time. Initially, there was considerable unease over the competitive threat from online retail, as Amazon and Apple, among others, gutted categories such as books and music. But with the overwhelming success of Apple stores and the rise of mobile technology, retailers have realized that the most powerful offering to their consumers is through a combination of physical and online channels. Retailers are ramping up the in-store experience to address this need. Stores are at the hub of the omni-channel retail model. Despite advances in augmented reality and the growth of e-commerce, stores are still the prime real estate for brand interaction between the retailer and customer. The willingness to buy, not just once, but again and again, depends increasingly on how well consumers are engaged by retailers in the physical space. This is clearly the case in the Gulf. A recent survey by eMarketer found that nearly 73% of the population of the UAE will use a mobile phone this year. And I think from what I've seen, it's closer to 99%. This puts the UAE in the #1 spot for mobile phone user penetration among countries in the Middle East and Africa. Penetration will rise slightly, nearing 3/4 in 2018, and will remain the highest during that time period. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and Nigeria will follow the UAE in mobile phone user penetration respectively. Next year, though, Saudi Arabia will pass Egypt to take the #2 spot. Yet despite household penetration of digital devices, e-commerce only accounts for a fraction of total retail sales. So while the shopper journey may begin online, it usually still ends up in a physical store. That is why omni-channel retailers are now putting as much effort into implementing technology initiatives in physical stores as they are in their e-commerce and m-commerce spaces. It's why stores are becoming even more exciting, engaging places to shop. And at the same time, shopping center owners are now rolling out new technology and tools that allow their shopping centers to offer greater convenience to the customer. Retailers and landlords are starting to use beacons to offer coupons to shoppers walking by or in their stores. Other new initiatives focus on streamlining services such as parking, dining, and the checkout process. And we are just scratching the surface of how technology will revolutionize the shopping center industry. Today, innovation is more important than at any point in the history of our industry. Our shopping centers also need to be more experiential because a broad shift has occurred in the way that people spend their money. They are spending a lower percentage of their budgets on merchandise and a higher percentage on experiences that enrich their lives. We are adding more events at our properties as well as theaters, entertainment centers, restaurants, and other creative operations. A great example is DreamWorks DreamPlace, which brings together well-loved DreamWorks characters and industry-leading innovation to create a unique holiday experience for the whole family. We are opening our first DreamPlace in Kansas City in the United States next month and already have a long waiting list to try out the experience. ICSC plays a significant role in helping its membership take advantage of this trend, and as chairman, I am assisting in this effort. I've been using social media to communicate with our members and give them a front row view of my year as chairman. And if you're not following me on Twitter, please do, at SD Lebovitz, and I'll keep you informed about everything I'm doing as chairman and also about everything I'm seeing in our industry. I'm working with ICSC staff also on other initiatives to educate and facilitate our members' efforts to take advantage of the possibilities new technology offers. It's a priority for ICSC to lead a collaborative effort across all segments of our industry, both the US and globally, in helping to understand the impact that technology will have on our business. ICSC also offers tremendous resources to its members. One of my goals as chairman is to make sure that awareness and accessibility of these services are increased so the value of an ICSC membership is further validated. In closing, I want to reiterate that I feel so fortunate to be here to speak to you today as ICSC's chairman and to have made my career in the shopping center industry. Across the globe, this truly is a great business. Yes, it is challenging, but it is also dynamic, constantly changing, and offers endless opportunities. And today is an incredibly exciting time for us. It's such a privilege for me to see so many incredible retail projects in the MENA region, here in Dubai, and in the UAE, and to meet and learn from all of you. This is an exciting time for me and all of us in this industry. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask Katie to come up. We do have some time for questions, and so Katie will facilitate leading any questions or asking me some if there aren't any.
A little bit of both. So, Stephen, I want to begin
I'm
by
not
asking,
Mike, so I have to...
what is happening with the ICSC at the moment? Obviously, you're jet-setting around the world. We just heard you were over at Recon in Asia recently. But what's happening with the council at the moment?
Well, ICSC has a lot going on, both in North America and across the globe. And one of my goals as chairman is to make sure that, like I said, our membership takes advantage of all the opportunities. We do have a new CEO who just joined us at the end of September. His name is Tom McGee. I'm chairman for a year, so after May next year in the Recon in the United States, there'll be a new chairman. We have a vice chairman who will succeed me, a woman named Liz Holland. But Tom McGee is the new CEO, and I know he'll be here next year, and hopefully he'll be here in the interim so he can understand what is happening with the MESCS and all the dynamic energy in the shopping center business here. But there's a lot of energy. There's a deal making in New York in December that will probably have 10,000 attendees. It's grown from 3,000 just 2 years ago. So that we moved it to a new venue, and that's an exciting development. In addition to Taiwan, which I just attended, I'll have the opportunity to travel to South America and to Europe in the spring to the conferences there. So ICSC really is a global organization, and there's a strong commitment to the global infrastructure and building on what we have. And like I said, it's still early and there's a lot of potential, but I think there's a great opportunity going forward.
So it certainly is a global institution. And as you've been visiting so many different countries around the world, which projects, which kind of projects have really inspired you?
Well, the projects here are amazing.
That's the right answer, correct?
Yeah, well, they truly are. But I've been going back and forth. I've been here 2 days, and I've been to Dubai Mall twice and Mall of the Emirates once, and I need to go back to both and spend a lot of time, but they're incredible. And just seeing all the new retailers and the experiential retailers, and there was, I think it was called Go Sports that we saw yesterday that just opened, and the Apple Store, and so there's a lot of amazing energy. But what impresses me also is what's happening in shopping centers to integrate other uses. I was in San Francisco for a conference in October, and we went to a Westfield project in San Francisco, and they've taken part of their third level, which is it's very difficult retail space, like was talked about yesterday in the Mall of the Emirates, and they've converted part of it to a tech incubator space where they have entrepreneurs who have mostly online retail concepts come in, set up their business, allow customers to check it out, figure out how to refine their concept. And it's a co-working space also so anyone can come in, lease space on a daily basis, weekly basis, and it's been phenomenally successful, especially in San Francisco because of all the new technology and all the entrepreneurial efforts going on there. So it's just a very creative use of space and just representative of how shopping centers are not just retail facilities, they're integrated into the entire fabric of their communities, and that's going to continue as we add more education uses, more social uses, and healthcare is going to be a bigger use going forward. So I just see as I see these projects, these alternative uses are continuing to grow and be added more.
Okay, I'll ask you one more question, and then we'll open up to the crowd for a couple of Q&As. E-commerce, how do you think that's affecting our line of work? Because we've seen a little bit slower in this part of the world to pick up that kind of thing.
Well, that's good. That's good. Don't complain. It's interesting. I'd say in Asia, it's huge. The whole impact of e-commerce, and in the United States and North America, it's growing. But it's really amazing. It seems like every day there's something new, whether it's drones that are going to deliver to your doorstep or new ideas for how e-commerce is going to continue. We saw yesterday Facebook has their instant shopping button that they're going to offer to customers. So there's no question that e-commerce is a growing area of shopping, and it's going to continue to be so. But it still is, as a percentage, less than 10%, 6 to 7% is the statistic in the United States. I think it's even lower here, and it's probably a little bit higher in Asia and some other parts of the world. And there's a lot of money. Retailers are investing a lot of their capital in e-commerce and omni-channel and technology. So it's going to continue to be an impact. But I think for us as shopping center owners, we have to embrace it. There's a company in the U.S. called Deliv. It's a startup, and it's all about helping facilitate delivery of merchandise that is ordered in stores and is ordered online and available in stores to either be delivered, or for shoppers who are in the store and want to have their items delivered to their office or their home or whatever, then they can do that. And yeah, it's really just, it's convenience for the customer. And that's what everything is driving towards, is how can you make the shopping experience more and more convenient. And for us as shopping center owners, we have to use technology, work with retailers, and figure out how we can continue to up our game to do that as well.
Make sure it's integrated hand in hand. I think we've got time for a couple of questions. Is there anyone in the crowd who'd like to ask Iwika? Okay, so if you'd like to stand up.
My name is Syed Haider. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. Recently became the member of this MENA.
Thank you.
My question is, Stephen, do you think that the shopping malls will take over the mom and pop stores and chains like 7-Eleven, particularly in the developed countries like US? What do you think about it?
What do I think of the shopping center decor?
Shopping centers shall take over the mom and pop stores and chains like 7-Eleven. I mean, would they be so powerful that they will be emerged into these, or they will be extinguished from their business?
That's a tough one. I think that, so you're asking if the shopping centers will take over business? Oh, the mom and pops. Okay, I got it. Sorry. I think that the mom and pops, what we're seeing is even a bigger opportunity for them, because there's so much consistency in shopping centers. I see a lot of the same names of stores everywhere I go. United States, here, Asia, you see the same designers and the same international global brands. But the mom and pops and the local retailers are innovating, and they're putting creative energy into their retail products. So as an owner, we're looking to grow our investment, and we actually bring them in, start them on carts or vacant spaces in our malls. We'll invest to help them grow their business. So we see that as a growing opportunity and a really important part of our tenant mix to differentiate us from other shopping centers. So we hope that the mom and pops and the local retailers will continue to thrive. Does that answer your question?
We got time for one more question.
Oh,
There we go. Oh, sorry. Right behind me. That's nice. It's good when you're wearing high heels. You don't have to move too far.
Hi, my name is Marissa from Nakhil, a shameless plug, one of the retail developers in Dubai. And I wanted to ask, with the insurgence of all the brands from the US, what we've not seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, are basically the shopping developers from the US into Dubai. Is this something that is in the pipeline? And if it's not, why not?
So, well, I think that the shopping developers in the U.S., for the most part, have stayed in the U.S. with their programs, with the exception of outlet projects. Outlet projects have been, and Simon has expanded somewhat into Europe. But I think from a U.S. developer's point of view, we come here and there's such a local expertise among the developers here that the question is, what value can we add? And I think ICSC can come in and help out from an education point of view. In a lot of the other parts of the world where the U.S. developers have expanded, it's been financial. And I don't think the projects here, at least from what I've learned, need the financial resources in the U.S. They seem to be pretty well taken care of from that point of view. So we don't offer the money and the financing. The expertise is developed through sharing of best practices. And I think in terms of opportunities, there are just other parts of the world where the U.S. developers, if they're going to expand globally, have focus versus being here. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we're out of time for questions, but I know Stephen will be sticking around a little bit later for us if you do manage to corner him in one of the breaks. Big round of applause, everyone. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you. Well, if you look around the MENA region, it seems strange to think that just a couple of decades ago, our retail offerings tended to be small and informal at times, sometimes somewhat disorganized bazaars or markets. And today we have these palatial shopping malls. We've spoken a lot about Mall of the Emirates' new billion-dirham extension that's just opened. We've got a new 6 billion Riyal mega mall set for Riyadh, or the Mall of Oman in Muscat that's set to be the country's largest shopping centre. But while there's a mountain of these impressive new projects, I think you have to ask, with all this new retail space coming online, as well as a strong US dollar, fewer Russian tourists, and a slump in global oil prices, are we going to be seeing a slowdown in the retail market? You consider that Dubai alone has 400,000 square new meters of retail space opening next year. Qatar has around a dozen or so malls in the planning or construction stages right now. So I guess, what does this mean for you? Well, our next guest is going to be joining us. Nick Peel is the CEO of Marca PJSC, is the CEO for the first public joint stock company listed on Dubai's financial market. Nick is responsible for leading the company's development and growth, focusing on the mid to high range segments in sports retail, fashion and growth, hospitality through acquisitions, franchise agreements, and more. He's had quite some interesting roles before he joined Marca as well, including working as the retail director of Arsenal FC. Now, he says that when a market softens, it's more important than ever to make sure that you properly understand your consumer. You have to sometimes realize that less can be more, particularly when it comes to marketing and packaging. And like so many speakers that we've heard from over the last couple of days, he says that digital is the way of the future when it comes to retail. So please put your hands together for Nick Peel.
Thank you, Katie, for a very humbling introduction, and thank you to David for the introduction to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, today. And indeed, it is a privilege. Don't worry about my props. I'm not going to try and sell you a book today, although I may refer to it during my slides. But the word privilege is something I would like to start off on, if I can. I've been in the region now only for 17 months, having joined Marca as CEO in the middle of last year, just before we listed on the Dubai Stock Exchange. And despite the fact, and I know there's been a bit of doom and gloom sort of like talked over the last day or two about current sort of like market conditions, having spent the best part of 30 years working in the UK and Western Europe as a retailer, fundamentally as a retailer, let me tell you that mature retail markets, and I think this is something that Stephen touched on earlier, mature retail markets are incredibly tough, incredibly challenging, and when you're looking to drive single-digit growth year on year, and you're constantly monitoring cost and taking every pound or dirham out of your operating budget, you know, after 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it starts to lose its appeal sort of like a little bit. So let me just start by saying, I think we are all, and I mean all, incredibly privileged to work in this region. The UAE, as you know, is incredibly young, just over 40 years old. But the energy, it's intoxicating. And one of the things that convinced me about taking the leadership role at Marca was the very fact that, first and foremost, the UAE itself and Sheikh Mohammed has unbelievable leadership at the top of the table, economic diversification. We all know about Expo 2020, the opportunity to invest in non-oil infrastructure, whether it's education, retail, tourism, airlines, etc. There still is liquidity in the market, and I'll touch on that later. An amazing executive talent pool here on the ground. Dubai still is the focal point, as Stephen said earlier, for many retail brands. We have global reach. A relatively embryonic, but nevertheless very vibrant digital marketplace, unbelievable tourism, and don't forget, Dubai still is the gateway to GCC. So a little bit about Marca. As I mentioned, we were founded in September 2014. We're the first publicly traded retail operator in the UAE. We have 151 founders, investors, and shareholders, a board of directors that reads like a who's who of eminent UAE businessmen. And we've gone from 10 employees when I joined 15, 16 months ago to 1,100 employees in 10 months. It is, without doubt, been the quickest year of my life. A little bit about our brands, just very quickly. Our approach, as Katie said, has been focused on a combination of acquisition and franchise deals, but more importantly, also the creation of some local brands. And what we have done through acquisition is also to focus on local brands. So this is a bit of a USP for Marca, where we don't just want to be sat here in the UAE attracting lots of Western brands and collecting Western brands. We genuinely believe there's an opportunity to develop brands, even some existing brands that are currently here in the marketplace, and indeed take them out to the rest of the world. So a very clear strategic fit with Sheikh Mohammed's economic diversification program. Reem Al Bawadi is a classic example. Arabic restaurant chain. When we acquired it only 5-6 months ago, 4 restaurants. We've subsequently opened 1. We're about to open another 4. It comes with a central kitchen, which can serve somewhere in the region of 15, 16 restaurants within UAE. And then I'm standing here today with demand for Reem Al Bawadi in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Pakistan, Barcelona, Los Angeles, London, And how we take that brand out over the course of the next 3 or 5 years will be a combination of owner-operated and franchise sort of like partners. But there's a classic case of a locally grown brand where with the right amount of investment and management expertise, we can take a local brand, a local UAE brand, out to the rest of the world. We've also acquired Morelli's Gelato from Gourmet Gulf, another homegrown brand, despite its name. We've done a deal with a 3 Michelin star chef, Heinz Beck, from La Pergola in Rome. We've opened our first one in Galleria Mall in Al Wasl Road. And again, that is a brand with Heinz's personality and worldwide appeal that we can grow here in the UAE and take out to the rest of the world. We already have demand for Taste of Italy with Heinz Beck in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. We're also involved in the sports segment. We acquired Istithmar. We acquired Retail Core from Istithmar in March of 2015. It comes with 6 multi-brand sports stores with models above the door. We've also invested in an online signed football memorabilia business, Icons. We have 6 Nike monobrand stores, and another case of buying and acquiring a local business, Cheeky Monkeys, a children's edutainment project, incredibly profitable, where the local management team, husband and wife team, had taken it as far as they could from an investment perspective, but they've got a great brand, a great business, and we can inject capital, we can inject management expertise, and we can scale that business very quickly. We plan to open another 5 Cheeky Monkeys in the next 6 months. And again, we already have demand for Cheeky Monkeys in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. Fashion, we are, at this moment in time, focusing on franchise agreements. We haven't made any acquisitions. We have been deliberately cautious in this vertical, although we are diversifying slightly into spas and cosmetics with Shiseido, jewellery with Dean Van, and a mid-market Australian outsized brand called City Chic, which we have great hopes for. We're about to open 3 new City Chic stores for the first time in the region, starting in November, and 1 in December, 1 in January. So when I met the Marca board of directors, 6 very eminent big hitters in this part of the world, there was no talk about single-digit growth. It was of absolutely no interest to them. We're modestly funded, but the ambition still remains to this day. And 2 of those board members, these are actual quotes that were given to me during the interview process. We want to aim for the stars, but we're happy to land on the moon. And don't talk to me about 10% growth. Give me 10 times. However, as I'm sure you've been discussing both during the conference and outside of the conference, a reality check to some degree. And here are some of the headlines that have occurred in either trade journals or newspapers over the course of only the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we know about luxury retailers abandoning some leases in Hong Kong, question mark, Dubai retailers next to follow. I'm sure we all can recall anecdotal feedback about certain luxury brands and how they're performing year on year. We hear -25, -30, -40%. We know about UAE retailers using online opportunities to discount and clear stocks that would normally filter through real estate. We hear about, I think particularly in some of the smaller malls, the opportunity for rents to fall further based on the movement in the dollar. We've heard from Colin McLaughlin at Dubai Duty Free that even from a tourism perspective, the weaker ruble and fewer Russian visitors, I think costing Dubai Duty Free somewhere in the region of 165 million dirhams during 2015. However, balance that with this onslaught, this interest, this vibrancy of brands still coming, still wanting to be part of the UAE and ultimately GCC retail marketplace. We know about Nickelodeon, about to come to Dubai and open in 2016. You've heard and obviously talked about the opening of the 2 fantastic new Apple stores over the course of the last 10, 14 days. We know about KCAL from a food and beverage point of view. Market suggests opening 16 new stores, Pure Gold expanding, 7-Eleven opening in the UAE. And from a luxury perspective, Montblanc opening a new boutique store in Abu Dhabi. So whether it's food and beverage, whether it's fashion, whether it's jewelry, whether it's convenience, the demand, the brands, the thirst is still there. But I think, let's not kid ourselves. This article from a number of finance gurus, so forget retail and real estate for a second, but a very interesting article which appeared in the National only 4 or 5 days ago. Input from Marius Marathithis, Chief Economist at Standard Chartered Bank, and also Alex Thursby, Chief Exec of National Bank of Abu Dhabi. A couple of quotes I think that tell the story. Business borrowers are steeled for a tough year ahead following a slew of warnings from banks over a looming credit squeeze. Funding pool shrinks, small firms, SMEs, likely to struggle. This is exactly what is likely to happen, and I think here's the key words, in a cyclical downturn. So make no mistake, 2016, and I suspect 17, is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. However, and I know there's a gentleman speaking after me today, there is a danger, and I've seen this in the UK, particularly during a time when I was responsible for Land Security's entire retail estate based in London, 17 shopping centres, 16 retail parks, £4.2 billion worth of assets before the market crashed in 2008, 2009. But if you listen to A.T. Kearney, who have a retail development index, and I'm sure you'll hear more about it later, quantifies risk and opportunity between emerging markets, so it includes India and China and Indonesia, etc. GCC still rates particularly highly. Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Saudi, Oman, all rated a better than 75% scoring on Kearney's Retail Development Index. And my particular sort of view, which to some extent is driven by sort of population, but I think you also have to look at what's been happening in places like Saudi Arabia, over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. Retail space has increased. Retail sales have been increasing. There's still a lot of space that is devoted to traditional marketplaces. Key retailers are still seizing opportunities, albeit cost-effectively. Majid Al Futtaim, Juicy Couture, IKEA, Al Hokeya, Marks & Spencer's. And we do know that there are some regulatory developments on both working hours and foreign investment that ought to make retail investment easier, more cost-effective in the next 24, 36 months. So just before I talk about consumers, because for me it starts and stops with consumers. I know we all strategize and we sit in boardrooms and we come up with ideas and plans. But the individuals who decide whether we succeed or not is obviously the customers themselves. And in the second half of my presentation, what I am going to talk about is some of the observations that I've seen, not just from a market perspective, but in talking with our founders, our board members, in interacting with landlords, with retail chains, And I think, if I'm perfectly honest, I think there's still scope for growth with understanding and engaging with consumers in our marketplace. And fundamentally, and I think, taking comparisons from mature markets like North America and UK and Europe, completely knowing and understanding your customer is absolutely pivotal. This was me only 21, 22 years ago. And I'm sure some of you sort of recall having mobile devices of that nature. But again, Stephen's touched on it. I'm sure it's a constant theme throughout today's and yesterday's conference. Digital is undoubtedly the future. And although it's a sweeping generalization, everybody talks about the millennials and tomorrow's customer. And who are the millennials? And the fact that, they've obviously been born between 1980 and 2000, they're well educated, less likely to watch TV, undoubtedly lovers of technology, highly social online, lovers of bite-sized information, quality of life, including health, sometimes seen as more important than the big salary, highly influenced by peer opinion, always likely to research online for key buying decisions. So although here in the UAE, that mobile, that m-commerce market may not have kicked in yet, mobile phones are being used to influence buying decisions in shopping malls and at point of sale. They expect to be listened to by brands, which is quite a key issue. And without doubt, this is the biggest global generation in history with enormous buying power. That change in consumer behavior that you've heard of other speakers talking about over the last couple of days, we have to be more honest and transparent in our communication. Immediacy is key, personalization and intimacy at the forefront. And I think those are items, whether it's customer service, whether it's marketing, I think those are areas where I personally think there's huge room for improvement in the UAE in particular, and the GCC specifically. A couple of quotes that I guess from very, very good retailers, one in the UK, one in the region, that I think for me speak volumes. John Lewis, for those of you who know that great bastion of the British High Street, perhaps our best example of department store retailing. Our customers are at the heart of our strategy. We recognize their mission has changed. Click and collect might meet one need during the week, but at the weekend, they might want a day out, so they come to the store. Our challenge is to invest across all touch points. And Altair, a retail holding group that I have great admiration for in this part of the world. When you've got a capital expenditure pot that has to be prioritized, it has to start with the customer. That's the main investment issue. How refreshing. So what I'm going to do now is move on to, I guess, my kind of philosophy on how retail is moving in UAE and GCC. And I want to refer to a book. I'm not here to sell the book today. It's got absolutely nothing to do with me. But if you get the chance to buy and read a book called Biology from a gentleman called Martin Lindstrom. Martin's a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and he has his own marketing consultancy called Biology Inc. And fundamentally, he talks about our non-consciousness and what makes us buy brands, buy products, visit shopping, retail destinations. And it's kind of underpinned by this quote, Benjamin Franklin quote, no presentation's complete without a quotation. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. And as I say, the fundamental thrust of Martin's book is that our non-consciousness, 85% of our non-consciousness, fuels purchasing, brand, interaction, and decision making. Now, I'm a huge film fan, and also within the book, there's a reference to the great UK film director Alfred Hitchcock, and some of you who have read the book will be aware, but I guess many of you won't, that any time Alfred Hitchcock wrote a film script, he wrote 2 scripts, not 1, 2 scripts. He wrote a blue script, which was fundamentally advising the actors on where to stand, how to walk on the stage, and what to say, the words, the spoken word. But he also wrote a green script alongside it, which contained the emotion, the drive, the passion that was required to deliver and execute the script itself. In retail parlance, this is blue script. Typical supermarket, very regimented. Everything driven, I suspect, by data and analytics, number of facings, brand by brand. Green script in a supermarket environment would tend to look something like that. Reliant on smells, reliant on retail theatre. And I think the best example of green script retailing, which I think represents the future, not just here in UAE and GCC, but indeed worldwide. I don't know if any of you recognize this brand, but it's Kiehl's, the cosmetic brand. Now, what would a skeleton, a motorbike, and a chandelier, what's the relevance of those in a cosmetics sort of like store? But as you can see, and for those of you who have shopped at Kiehl's, very simple packaging, white bottles, not a lot of fancy photography or description, very simple product. Staff dressed in lab coats, but the product's excellent. The retail environment is second to none, and the repeat business and loyalty that Kiehl's generates is absolutely terrific. A success story like no other. We ourselves at Marca, with Taste of Italy, with Heinz Beck, more than just a restaurant. We've introduced a retail component. We've introduced cookery classes. We've introduced, from a digital point of view, an app where you can actually engage with the great chef Heinz Beck himself on a monthly, fortnightly basis. Same with our Champions League experience. We've done a deal with UEFA to bring Champions League experience to Yas Mall in Abu Dhabi. But not just another sports store. Heavy on content, rich in content, direct from well-established Champions League football legends, current players for Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, but also with a food and beverage component, large screen format, where we want you to go and actually sit down and watch the games, experience the games, not just buy another football shirt with a name on the back. So heavy on green script, heavy on customer experience. I won't seek to challenge Ron Kaufman, but if I can just touch briefly on customer service. Again, same principle, very experience-driven. I think Apple are the best exponents. Has it ever occurred to you when you go into an Apple store why all the iMacs are potentially at a 65-degree angle? It's because as you walk up, the first thing you want to do is bring that iPad forward, and as soon as you've touched that product, you're engaged. You're not just buying the brand, you're joining the brand. Very emotive approach to retail and customer experience. And as I get towards the end of the presentation, I just want to touch also on marketing in this part of the world. And, first of all, forgive me, I don't think this is typical of all retail advertising in UAE and GCC, but certainly I think from experience the scope for improvement. And this approach of throwing the kitchen sink at consumer marketing, I think has limited sustainability. And what I'd like to do is show you a very, very quick video clip. We've talked about digital and content and how it's important. We've talked about experience, customer experience, and emotional appeal and how it's important. What I'd like to do is show you a very quick video clip. And as it's playing, see if you can guess who the brand is. So no t-shirts, no point of sale, not until that final frame do you find out who that brand is. High on emotion, high on positivity, experience. You join the brand. You don't just buy the brand, you join the brand. And I think a couple of retailers who are not market retailers, but I have to take my hats off to them as great examples, particularly in this part of the world, who are doing really well, and they're not afraid to take risks, and they're getting it right. Shake Shack, for those of you that have heard of Burger Beats, Shake Shack invite their customers who are musicians to submit songs, submit their music, and they play it on their in-store loop. Nike, when Nike now look at opening stores, admittedly, this has taken off in the US to a very great degree. But if you look at what they're doing in Newport County in California, they start with a gymnasium, a yoga gym, a dance class. They employ dietitians, they employ fitness professionals. They obviously launch the app. And then they add the retail component. Then they add the apparel and the footwear. It's almost becoming a secondary consideration. Again, you join the brand. You don't just buy the brand, You join the brand. And again, one minor call out, which I'm not sure anyone's covered in any great detail, but given the region that we live in, I think this is important for mall owners, it's important for retailers. Don't forget corporate responsibility. I mean, we live in an area where tolerance and compassion is a big, big part of everyday life and business life. Great causes, not-for-profit, giving back to the community. I know that retail holding companies like Majid Al Futtaim have a great reputation in this area. From a market perspective, we're currently through our Cheeky Monkeys play edutainment concept. We have advisors in all of those play areas advising mums for breast cancer awareness, and that's been particularly well received. So I think don't forget corporate social responsibility from a retail and shopping centre perspective as we move forward. So the summary, 7 key takeaways. First and foremost, it's a global market. There are UAE and GCC brands that are moving out to the rest of the world, and there are still lots of global brands moving here. Execution is key. Don't just talk about it, make sure you execute, particularly in tough times. Make sure you execute, 100%, invest heavily. Customer experience is key. Continue to take risks, know your customer. From a marketing and consumer communication perspective, less can be more. Keep it simple, declutter, and it's very much a digital future. If you had to sum up my presentation, ladies and gentlemen, my firm view for UAE and GCC, retailers should build emotional currency to win hearts rather than minds. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. What a wonderful video. Now, we're moving on to our panel discussion now, looking at the fact that women are responsible for 80% of all purchases, but they make up more than half of major retailers' workforces globally. And yet a study from Catalyst shows that less than 3% of these companies have female CEOs. Of course, that is slowly changing, particularly in this part of the world where higher education is on the rise, but we still have some way to go. In this country, around 70% of university graduates are women. 60% of the government workforce are women, a third of whom hold senior positions. And the spending power of these women is impressive. Research from the Boston Consulting Group shows that women in the region now control around $500 billion worth of wealth. So as we're seeing female education rise, these wealthy women are now taking control of the companies to decide how and why to spend that money. But today we're going to be talking about why we still need to see greater efforts to attain and attract female retail leaders in this sector. Why it's essentially so important that the management of retail companies reflects the demographics of the people that they're trying to sell to and engage with. Today we're honoured to be joined by Her Excellency Leila Mohammed Suhail, the CEO of the Dubai Festivals and Retail Establishment. And she's the first female to hold this impressive role. She's also the Vice Chairperson of the Dubai Design District and a board member for the Dubai Sports Council, Dubai Shopping Malls Group and the Dubai Gold and Jewellery Group. We'll also be pleased to be joined by Rania Mushtaha, the Director of Retail for Meras Holding, where she's led retail management and marketing for major projects like City Walk, The Beach and Box Park. Previously, she worked with Majid Al Futtaim for 10 years, looking at alternative sources of income like media and advertising. And our third retail leader for our panel today is Nisreen Shoker, the President of Virgin Megastore Middle East, a position she's held for close to a decade. Nisreen's been an essential part of the company's success and has a wide range of experience within the music, publishing, licensing, digital and retail sectors, and she's also on the advisory board of a number of digital and environment startups. Please join with me in welcoming these three women to our stage. Thank you for joining us today, ladies. I want to begin by asking you, I'm going to ask each of you to answer this question. Just briefly, how did you all make it to the top of your organizations? Your Excellency, I might begin with you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. And this was a really good conference. Going back to the question, I think if I have to answer the question of what brought me to where I am today, I would say the support I've been getting from the leaders of Dubai, and mainly the belief in the power of women to multitask and be able to reach positions and walk side by side our male colleagues and brothers to support in achieving like objectives and targets.
Certainly a lot of support, a lot of multitasking indeed. Nisreen, same question.
It's a tough question to answer very simply. It's a combination of things. So obviously the right support team, knowing what you want to do early on. Before I joined retail, I was in the media industry, something I was very passionate about. I love music, I love film, so it's very fortunate when you find your path early on, coupled with a good education that kind of rounds up any other elements that I wasn't particularly very strong at, having the support of family and friends, and the luck of being able to take advantage of opportunities worldwide, traveling the world as a young person. It all contributes significantly to a position, and along the way, being in the Middle East, being from this part of the world has definitely been very instrumental.
For me, it was an opportunity that presented itself. I've always liked to take on challenges. I've always liked to try things that people told me I couldn't do. So it was just powering through and actually looking at where are the challenges. At that time when I joined retail, it was actually still young in Dubai. So for me, that was the opportunity, and I really wanted to take on that challenge.
Let's talk about some of those challenges. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your career? How did you overcome them?
The main challenge when I started my career, I believe, was the lack of mentoring and coaching. I think it goes across. It's not just in retail. That was my main challenge, and I don't think it was something to do with being a woman. It was just more of really having that kind of support within an organization that's not just training, but taking someone on board and taking them through their career and moving them forward.
So I guess we know the statistics. I'm sure you are all very well aware the fact that women make the majority of purchases. They prepare the products that they purchase. They consume all these products, the overwhelming majority. So Nisreen, why do you think we haven't seen more women rise to the top of these retail companies and lead these companies?
Traditionally in retail, it's well known, perhaps not so much in this part of the world, but retail at the top is dominated by those who really start from the floor level. And there are many reasons that make it very difficult for women, lifestyle and otherwise, to work in retail from the floor level. We always think about Dubai when we talk about these issues, but if you think about outside of Dubai, if you think about the Levant region, places like Jordan, Egypt, and so on, retail hours are very difficult. They're difficult to have when you have a family as well. You're working weekends. You never get to spend time with your kids when your kids are off. It's unsafe sometimes to go home at night. So it's not an industry that generally attracts a lot of females. Even though we are in, for example, in fashion and so on, it should naturally attract females. We still have some difficulty doing so. At the very top of organizations, this is not just specifically to the Middle East. Worldwide, especially in Europe, you still see men at the top of the retail pyramid. And it's probably no different than any other industry. The hours are very long. Retail by nature, whether you're an executive or working on the floor, you basically work when everybody else is off. You hit your numbers when everybody else is on holiday or sleeping. So it tends to be very, very difficult in terms of balancing work life, which is something I guess we're going to talk about a bit later.
So, what's key to attracting and retaining strong female retail leaders? I mean, we've seen some controversial ideas from people like Google who are offering to freeze their female executives' eggs. Your Excellency, what kind of things do we need to be looking at here? Do we need to be quite as out there as Google is? Is a more moderate approach better?
I think just if I go to the, to the first question in terms of, the challenges. I've been with, festivals and mainly retail sector for the last 21 years with the inception of the Dubai Shopping Festival, which aimed mainly to support and promote the retail sector in Dubai. And if I go back to those early years when we've started with only 5 shopping malls and handful of retailers working with us on the different activation, and we look at Dubai today and where we are in terms of the retail infrastructure through the different shopping malls or the different brands we have in Dubai, I think in the last 20 years there have been major development when it comes to the retail. And then specifically looking at women's being in retail sector, I think in Dubai we really have women in, in various sectors of, retail, whether there is, whether they are in the marketing or business development or some of them in CEO positions also, working on those different brands, developing those brands. And in my career, I've been dealing with majority of retailers in Dubai, and most of their marketeer or marketing teams are females. And the most successful, activation and promotion are being done by, female leaders. And going back to the challenges, I think the challenges would be is, how do we continue the development and provide the right infrastructure when it comes to training, females and women to enter the sector of retail and grow and develop in that. If we look also at, being in the fashion council and looking at the female entrepreneurs, with the different brands, whether it's a fashion brand or a lifestyle brand or, the passion we have in women to, come there and showcase their talents. I think what we need is to provide them with the right support, whether it's on a government level or also individual private sector level. Do we have the right training? Do we have the right development? Can we provide the right support to those, young women who are willing to get into the retail sector and, develop their career in that field?
So you feel that there isn't enough support and isn't enough training yet? Is that just for women leaders or is it for
I think it's
both?
across the board because, we are growing really fast as, we've seen in the previous presentation by Marka that, there's so much of development happening. Retail are growing, we have major retailers opening, branches, more brands coming to the UAE and to the region itself. So there's so much happening on that front. And at the same time, we have to be ready also by having the right infrastructure for the development and for training and making sure that we have, by the time we have all these brands coming within the next 2 years, if you look at all the development coming in the region, whether it's shopping malls or entertainment or, new projects and development, we will need those kind of resources, whether it's male or female. And, keeping in mind women are multitask, we will need that power as well. So we need to make sure that, across all the sector, we have the right infrastructure for the development and training of the talent to be able to handle and manage that, project coming to, various cities.
Can I add another perspective to that? From a practical level, organizationally speaking, comparing this region to Europe or the US, what I've experienced is that we lose a lot of women here in middle management. And as much as we say that we're heading towards a world where the man does as much as the woman, in this part of the world it's still skewed very much towards a female responsibility, take care of the children, take care of the home. And we see a lot of amazing women with great education, great experience, women that we've invested a lot of money in growing, leaving at the pinnacle or the beginning of their success story. Public policy does not support, but I don't think that we should use that as an excuse. I think companies on their own can do a lot. Google is thinking about, the freezing Virgin is talking about giving women time off if they need IVF treatment, for example. You know, these are all issues that are being discussed because diversity has become a very important topic and a very important agenda. Tim Cook has invested heavily in his team at Apple to bring in a diversity team to look at all levels, not just females, but all types of diversity. Intel the same, because we know that a lot of women are leaving at the mid-level management. So I think that every company has a responsibility. We need to do things differently to appeal to women who are struggling to manage both. It could be hours, it could be working from home. There are a lot of creative solutions to keep them in the workforce. And if they do leave, we have to do a lot to bring them back. Virgin Megastore is the only, or the first, I would say, probably, hopefully, one of many to offer programs around returnships. So when women leave and they're raising their kids and the kids now go to school and the mom feels she wants to go back to work, they need to know that they can come back, earn the same salary that they did before, not take a few steps back and be in an environment that's going to train them and encourage them to continue the journey.
Won't that cost the company, though? I mean, how do you convince a company that it's good business for them to let women work part-time, to let them, you know, pause their career and then come back in a few years when, you know, most companies are looking at profits at the end of the day. Obviously, you know, employee engagement and supporting them is important, but how do you convince them that it's not just about the financial payoffs?
It costs 6 times as much, just to say that, and then it costs 6 times as much to hire a new employee than to keep an existing one.
So do you think it goes to education then, educating these companies about this kind of thing?
It's about education, definitely, for the companies, because it does cost a lot more to actually bring in new employees. So it is absolutely essential. A lot of companies invest in their employees not knowing they are investing. So investing is not just by training and traveling, but it's also we do have the wealth of that company and the information, the knowledge. So flexibility actually is absolutely essential, and understanding that, you know, if I don't work the 8 to 4 doesn't mean that I don't care, and that I don't have to be here an extra few hours actually to show that I care. I can do it from home. I can do part-time. I mean, I find it still very strange that we don't have part-time jobs actually in this part of the region, and it is absolutely essential, and not just actually for women, but across.
So I guess in terms of the solution, you were talking about part-time hours. Again, is that down to the companies? Do you think we need to be pushing the government for this? What is the solution when we're talking about flexible working hours? When we're talking about this support, I think I've been to many conferences like this, and again, we always talk about it, but are we seeing the action? How do we change that?
I think it starts with the companies. Look, yes, it cascades down. So if the country encourages that, then the companies eventually will follow. But it doesn't stop the companies from taking that initiative and starting it themselves.
I guess the age-old question as well, Nisreen, I'll ask you this, and I know you've got twins and you've got an older teenager as well. How do you find that work-life balance? As someone, I've got a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. I know I don't have the work-life balance. As someone certainly who's been doing it very successfully, how the heck do you manage?
Have I done it successfully? Well, I stopped seeking balance. That helps a lot. I think that it's very difficult to try to achieve that on a daily basis. I look at it on a longer term view. So things change with time. Sometimes your children need you more than work. Sometimes work can take a precedence. It's very important to know what's important to you. Am I working to live? Am I living to work? And that changes with time. It changes with the age of the kids and what they're going through. Right now I have a teenager and toddlers, so everybody's very hormonal in my household. There's a lot of banging of doors and a lot of angry voices being raised. So that's what's happening today. In a few years' time, that could be very different. It's I think, very, very important not to hold on to the balance a bit too much, because that will drive any woman crazy. And then guilt starts seeping in, and then we come to the conclusion that we didn't get this right and we didn't get that one right either. So I think that what's important is to be happy and to enjoy what you're doing and find an environment that's very supportive of your life, and find a life that's supportive of your professional career as well. I'm very lucky that I do have the support from my family at home. And I'm very lucky that my company also understands when I need to take the time off. And it's so important to take time off. For self, essential. I know it's only 2 hours a week, but I have 2 hours a week that nobody can come near. It's my time. I can sit in bed and read a book, but it's my time. It's also important to take time off no matter what's happening at work, because work will be there tomorrow. So I wish I knew that 10 years ago. I wasn't as good and as clear 10 years ago as I am today. But now that I'm clear that, I'm not here just to work, just live to work, but work to live, it changes the perspective significantly.
I mean, we do have a lot of strong female leaders out there in the retail sector. Rania, who do you think is a good example of someone who's gotten it right, locally or internationally? Who do you look up to?
I'm sitting with them right now, actually.
Good response.
Ladies, and they are, actually, I must say, way before my time as well. I have met Nisreen and Layla, and women in general inspire me, to be honest. I look at these ladies and I think, wow, everyone should actually have something to learn from them, one way or another.
Your Excellency, I want to ask you, because you're someone who's been such a pivotal part of the city's retail success. Particularly, we look at DSF, I think it contributes 8 billion dirhams to the economy. That's no small feat. And you've set up a number of organisations here. How difficult was it to do that? Do you think it was harder because you were a woman? Obviously, it was a much younger sector when it came to retail then. Tell us about that.
I think, it was an incredible journey, especially keeping in mind that there was so much happening, like on the front, like on a city front in terms of all the development and everything. As I said earlier, when we launched Dubai Shopping Festival back in 1995, the key objective of His Highness was to promote Dubai as a family destination, to promote the offering Dubai has. And from 5 shopping malls to more than 75 shopping malls with such a great experiences we have in Dubai. Retail sector from handful to, like one of the best destination when it comes to the retail brands. I think, it was a great vision of His Highness, for the city of Dubai. And then we all, we've been sharing this for the last 20 years, that the key success factor of this initiative, which is Dubai Shopping Festival, our biggest festival and the longest running festival in the region, has been the collaboration and partnership we had with the private sector of Dubai. Yes, it was challenging in some time to bring, competing malls in one room and get them to think together for a single promotion. We had really tough time getting them to take off their individual hats and wear the Dubai hat to think about a combined promotion and activation. But it happened, and the same thing with the Dubai Gold and Jewelry sector. Competing retailers coming together to think about a destination, to think about the city. I think that was the most challenging. But when that's starting happening, and they started feeling the impact and the benefit that on their respective brands or their respective stores, or on their individual sales, that changed the perspective. And today, if we look at the last 20 years, billions have been spent by the Dubai Gold and Jewelry Group to promote Dubai as a city of gold. The same thing happening with the shopping mall, and there are more initiatives in the pipeline with those 2 specific groups, in addition to the other activation on the retail. Today, if we look at the organization today, which is the Dubai Festival and Retail Establishment, our key KPI or objective is how do you bring more people and tourists to Dubai, and then how do you get them to spend more in the retail outlets and the retailers we have in Dubai. So as a government, that's our KPI, that's what we are measured for, and that will not be possible if we don't work very closely with all the retailers, with all their marketing and sales team, to make sure that we are aligned, to make sure that objective is achieved.
Easier said than done, I'm sure. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to ask each of you, what would be your advice to the new generation of young women who are interested in entering and progressing in the retail sector? What would your words of wisdom be?
I think, I would, for all the young generation, I see there's so much of passion, so much of innovation. They are so excited about new opportunities. I think the challenge is at us, whether as a government, as a retailers, as a corporate, who are looking forward to attract that passion and innovation. So we need to be ready. We need to look at how do we actually get those talents on board of our organization and make sure that we have the right infrastructure to sustain and maintain and keep them, excited about what they are doing, especially with such a great opportunities available in the whole region when it comes to the retail infrastructure and malls.
It's very important to start on the floor of retail. I believe in that because I started on the floor. You get the opportunity to see your customers early on, interact with them, know what they're thinking. A lot of the reason why I'm able to create the experience that I have been able to is because, one, I can relate to my employees in a different way. Two, I can relate to the customers in a different way. And once you start on the floor level, your comfort zone is always to go back to the floor level. These are the best moments when I put the Virgin vest on Christmas time and go to the stores and help the team sell. And it gives you insight that no executive position ever will.
I'd say don't let fear limit you. You're going to come across a lot of challenges probably, one way or another. These are only challenges that you can overcome. They're not obstacles, so don't be afraid. Power through, move forward, and follow your ambition.
Well, thank you very much for speaking with us today. We really appreciate your time. Big round of applause for our panel, please. Thank you. Yep. Well, our next session today is going to be focusing on Iran, and it's been a tricky situation in that part of the world. A high inflation rate, poor GDP growth, and unemployment has put pressure on a lot of Iranian consumers in recent years. Many people with fixed incomes were simply not able to buy the products that they once were. But it's interesting because despite many years of sanctions, the IMF still puts Iran's GDP per capita at $16,500 US. Now, essentially, this means that customers in Iran, on average, have more money to spend than their counterparts in emerging markets like Brazil, China, India, and South Africa. And Iran has a young population, many of whom were looking for improvements in their standard of living, their education's improving, and there's a lot of potential to expand there and to reach the 77 million people there living today. So our next speaker who's joining us today is Kian Kaligian, the founder and CEO of Baya Obora, the Iranian master franchisee for Brazil's largest frozen yogurt chain, Yogoberry. Now, this was launched in Tehran back in 2011. Now, he significantly expanded the brand despite a number of challenging market conditions in Tehran when many F&B competitors went out of business. He's also worked in brokerage, investment banking, and assessment management in London and HSBC in Dubai. Please welcome to the stage Kian Kaligian.
Good morning. I'm going to share with you a little about my background, the journey I've taken in bringing a foreign F&B brand into Iran, and hopefully in sharing this experience help you in penetrating into the last great market of the Middle East for your own brands. Steven Lebovitz puts a photo of him when he was a child. This is not me. I had a lot more hair than him. I left Iran when I was 9 and didn't go back for 26 years, 20 years of which I didn't even set foot in the country. So it was surprising that the route for my return was through Brazil, and it was the non-fat frozen yogurt, Yogoberry. I have high cholesterol. I was going past the shop, saw the non-fat frozen yogurt, went in, fell in love, and to cut a long story short, managed to get the master franchise for Yogoberry for Iran and the GCC. It was then when I came back to Dubai, I had moved from London to Dubai by that time, to decide which market to go to first. Obviously, the GCC markets were vibrant, very healthy, but lots of competitors. And then I looked at Iran. Iran is the last major economy to emerge. International investors are gearing up to enter the market. It has a population of close to 80 million, approximately 30% of which are very young, under 25, around half of which are around 30. The per capita GDP is high by global standards, making Iran a middle-income country with a standard of living roughly comparable to South Africa. The Iranian retail market's value is expected to grow by 20% from 133 billion to 156, according to data from Euromonitor International. And developers are constructing around 400 shopping malls around Iran, 65 of which is just in the capital, Tehran. Luxury brands and global brands anticipate a retail boom there. Iran is the next big market in the Middle East. Modernization of the Iranian retail sector is at an early stage. However, it is developing dramatically and is propelled by a young population, high urbanization, swift development of the retail property, and a fast spread of modern technology. Retail brands, retailers from Turkey, UAE, and other GCC countries are securing right now the best locations in anticipation of a surge in retail demand thanks to their proximity and the large influx of Iranian tourists. Investment opportunities for the International Retail Group will be in retail fashion, cosmetics, and F&B. There are some challenges, however. There are external challenges, the sanctions which are in the process of being lifted, low oil prices. They have all weighed heavily on Iranians' purchasing power. The stock market, Tehran Stock Exchange, has dropped by approximately 40% in the past year and a half, which I believe is a record downfall. Iran is known to be flooded with fake goods, partly due to long absence of international brands on the ground. There is going to be an influx of brands rushing to Iran with a choice of few credible local partners, so there is a chance that some or a majority may fail. And then there are the internal challenges. The retail market is fragmented and dominated by small shops, government cooperatives, and street markets. A few grocery chains have been established, enhancing Iranians' familiarity with modern format retailing. Iran has a unique business environment, social norms and business customs which require understanding and experience. There is a lack of understanding of the shortage of experience with international standard retail experience. So here I'm going to share with you the process that we went through in bringing a foreign brand, in this case a frozen yogurt brand, the largest in Brazil, into Iran. It involved creating a business plan, setting up a company, establishing relationships within Iran. All these I will go into detail a little later. Brand registration, bringing a local or international investors, registering with the Ministry of Commerce and getting an approval from Ministry of Health for the raw material which we import. And finally, securing the best retail locations we can. The business plan was an affair which took roughly 3-4 months, and it was all about getting raw data on the retail market, shops, rents, the terms of contracts, lease contracts that landlords typically give in the country, and data on sales numbers. We were looking at cafes, ice cream parlors, juice bars, to bring into our business plan. We then set up a company. We called it Biao Bora. It means come and go. Reason being, we're hoping that this will be the first of many brands which we can help bring into Iran, which would involve retail F&B brands. It was then when we had to establish relationships within the market. Lawyers, accountants, the right lawyers, the right accountants. It's about getting the right advice. A lot of people have come into the market and have managed to get wrong advice and have failed. Tax advisors and relationships within the Ministries of Commerce and Health. We even established a relationship with the Brazilian embassy, who were very excited when they saw that we're bringing the largest frozen yogurt brand into the market. And after that, it was basically getting the local investors and some international investors to back the company. They all came with reference letters at the very beginning because we didn't have retail experience in Iran, and going to landlords without showing shops in Iran always puts them on a defensive. But when they saw the reference letters that we had from our shareholders, from the embassy, it showed them that we're going through this professionally, and it made them more comfortable in renting our very first shop. Brand registration was something that was actually done by the parent company. But even in this, we had a hand in it because Yogoberry had to be translated, so to speak, into Persian. Not translated, but we had to create the brand using Persian letters. The reason for this is that there is a law in Iran that when you have signs up above your shop, there's a law of 70-30, where the size of the Persian version of your brand has to be 70%, and the foreign brand should be 30%. So we helped Yogoberry in creating the Persian version of the brand. This was probably the most important thing we did. The Ministry of Commerce certificate for exclusive agency or master franchisee. In a country which has been an island for foreign investors and foreign brands and filled with plenty of fake goods, it was very important for us to go through the process and do everything officially. And it was great to see that in Iran, all the procedures are there if you're willing to go through them and follow the right advice. What we did is, for those, I'm sure a lot of you may know, but for those who would like to penetrate the Iranian market, we took our contract and basically notarized it with the Ministry of Commerce in Brazil and attested it at the Iranian embassy there. It came to Iran, had a formal translation, submitted to the foreign ministry before taking it to the Ministry of Commerce. In our case, it was a little bit more difficult because even though the brand was Brazilian, the raw material was coming from Italy. So they actually wanted documentation showing that. So we had to go through the whole process again with another document where the notarization and attestation had to happen also in Italy with the Ministry of Commerce in Italy and the Embassy of Iran in Rome. And then we were given this certificate. The certificate shows the brand Yogoberry, shows the parent company, Comercio Sorvetes dos Angelos, and our company data. The Ministry of Health approvals happens actually on a case-by-case basis whenever you are bringing the raw material into Iran. It isn't that you go to the Ministry of Health and get a certificate for your raw material and then you can just bring it in as many times as you want, whenever you want. It's actually done very professionally, something that you would expect from developed countries, on your raw material, you submit documentation to the Ministry of Health. They include chemical analysis, microbiological analysis, and so on and so forth. And you get a pre-approval from them on your shipment. That pre-approval allows you to bring in the product over the next 12 months, however many times you want to bring it in the next 12 months. But when your product, your raw material arrives at the customs, the Ministry of Health takes samples from that, tests it, and makes sure that this is in line, in conjunction with the documentation that you presented them, upon which they gave you the pre-approval. And then finally, we opened our very first shop. It was actually Yogoberry's first international shops after having opened over 100 shops in Brazil. The first international one was in Tehran, which we were very proud of. And we even had the ambassador of Brazil in Tehran at the time to come and inaugurate the shop. And this obviously helped with the marketing. It was in not only Iranian newspapers, it was also in Brazilian papers. So where are we today? During a time where the economy has faltered, it's been a difficult period, and at least half a dozen of our competitors in the frozen yogurt industry have actually entered the market and have either closed down completely, with maybe one or two of them still active, but on a very reduced number of shops. We've gone from strength to strength. We have opened 4 shops. We've right now signed the 5th place. Our sales have increased by 12 folds, our unit sales by 5 folds. And in the meantime, we've also helped establish, we became co-founders of a local company, Imagine Food Company, where the local company has the aim of creating local brands. If Bioboro's aim is to bring foreign brands, the local company's aim is to create local brands. So Gumby, our first project, is based on East Coast American food QSR concept, and already within 2 years we're at 3 branches. And where are we going in the future? We're hoping to use our local knowledge and expertise in assisting major local and global brands to enter the Iranian market. At this stage, I think we have a few minutes. If there's any questions you have, I'm happy to be of assistance. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi there.
This is with Nathan here. It's quite interesting to know about your experience in the challenging market down there in Iran. I mean, yeah, we had a glimpse of experience over there, having tried out with some of the assignments in Iran, working with some big shopping centers. But what in your view is, as you rightly pointed out, there is a category of fake products that's in the market there, and the brands are duplicated.
Right.
And again, looking at the super regional centers and the scale of the buildings that's being built now,
right.
Do you think it's going to change drastically over a period of time? And how do you see the market is going to evolve as itself?
I actually do think it's going to change dramatically. What you have to see is that up until a few months ago, Iran was an island, so to speak. It was under severe sanctions. It still is. Not in the F&B sector, but generally it's under sanctions and banking sanctions. And what this had actually promoted the case of fake brands, or people just, even if they're not fake, they might be real brands, but they're not official relationships with the parent companies. They may be coming out of Iran, buying certain brands, apparel or anything, and just putting it in a container, bringing it into Iran, and then just putting the brand up above a shop and saying that we are actually agents of the brand where they're not. This is very quickly coming to an end. I know that the policy is right now to help in taking all these fake brands or even real brands but not real relationships with the parent companies off the market. And it's definitely going in that direction. And it is going to force people to actually go through the processes which I just showed you, getting the permits that they should, which also gives them the right to go after the fake brands and get them to bring their signs out and not to sell their products.
Okay, I think that's it. Big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
We're now going to take a break for half an hour, so please have a cup of coffee, stretch your legs, do a bit of networking. Make sure you check out some of the exhibition, because as we said earlier, a lot of the examples really are fantastic. We're going to be coming back in about 30 minutes after that. We've got a cracking session just before lunch, so we'll see you shortly. Well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the chance to have a cup of coffee, stretch your legs. It's certainly been a busy morning, so I hope you enjoyed some networking opportunities. Now, we were originally going to be having a session with Mike Moriarty from A.T. Kearney, looking at a lot of the new mall developments in this region. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to join us this time in Dubai, but we have a fantastic session booked for you instead. Phil MacArthur, the founder and managing director of MacArthur & Co., is going to be joining us talking about global design trends, really looking at how the shopping centre experience has been evolving. Over in Asia, it tends to be a lot more focused on vertical. In this part of the world, a lot more sort of horizontal. And he's got some really interesting ideas on malls ranging from Malaysia to Abu Dhabi and more. And so everybody, if you could put your hands together for Phil MacArthur.
Good afternoon. I prepared long and hard for this presentation. 11 o'clock this morning, Dave McAdam phoned me saying Mr. Moriarty couldn't show up. He said, "Do you have anything in the can?" I said, "Not really." But then I started thinking that with the Viva committee, there's a lot to tell you about. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview on how ICSC evaluates shopping center design and development program. Okay? Okay, this is a different presentation. Joanne? Is this 15 or 14? Okay, so the one I didn't see. Wing it, okay. So ICSC, we have a program called the Viva Awards. And I think many of you know that there's Maxi Awards for marketing excellence and Viva Awards for recognizing high standards of international development, design, and operations. Next slide. So the Viva Award stands for Vision, Innovation, Value, and Achievement. And Viva Award program extends across the world into 6 or 7 regions, and I think the presentation will tell you the regions. What we do, we have regional councils that review design entries on a schedule. You can find it on the ICSC website. So for example, Asia Pacific has their own awards program. Those winners are announced at the Asia Recon. Just like tonight, we'll announce the MENA Awards. There's Canadian Awards, European Awards, US Awards, South African Awards. What we do then is look at the gold and silver finalists from each region, and we put them into a pool for the best of the best. We want to pick the best new shopping center development of the previous 2 years, or the best renovated and expanded shopping center. We get together once a year to meet as a panel and go through the judging criteria, look at the applications, and really debate why a certain project would deserve to be considered best of the best. That's the jury. I happen not to be at the meeting, so they cropped my head in there. That's very cool. Second from the right. I guess this shows that the committee also always meets at a resort. Really what it is they tie up with the ICSC trustees meeting every January and try to have the meeting at the same time. So you see that the panel of judges is from all over the world, and it's a mixture of developers and architects and consultants. This is a presentation that Derek Barker, our chairman, who's a managing director of Haskell's Architects in the UK, put together for us. 2 weeks ago, we were in Leeds in the UK, where we gave Land Securities the award for the very best shopping center to be developed in the previous 2 years. And I was joined by my colleagues on the panel, Arcadio Gill and Avi Alkaz. And we had a chance to talk about why Viva works. So before we get into the specific projects, I just wanted to let you know what we look at as judges when we're going through the submissions. Because many times a submission can be excellent, but it doesn't win because there's missing information. We're not looking for pretty malls. We're not looking for, it's not a beauty pageant. What we're trying to find is some projects that really exceed the development goals. So we do evaluate what the presentation looks like. How good is the package? Are there videos? Are there examples of advertising or marketing collateral or good before and after photos in a renovation? We look at design features because there's lots of trends that are happening around the world, and you'll see them amplified in the examples I'm going to show you. We look at, like I said, development goals and land use. How effectively have you used the land? Is it a mixed-use development? Are you massing the development together? We look at innovation, but we don't look at innovation just because it's innovative. We look at it to see if that helps achieve the development goals. We do look at shopping center sales, and we look at rentals. Many times our applicants are reluctant to give us that information. There's no way we can evaluate whether you're an award winner if we don't know what your performance is. And the information is confidential. It's only kept to the jury, and it's a vital piece of information we need. And finally, we award projects for their commitment to sustainability. We look at the construction. We look at what materials were used. We look at brown site developments and see how clever they were to minimize the impact on the environment. We look at operating environments, how developers are using new techniques for MEP to help improve the energy efficiency of the projects. Okay, so this is really the 11 new developments that the judges looked at for the 2015 awards. And then there was 6 renovations and expansions. So you can see that the finalists came from all over the world and represent kind of the state of the art and what's happening. It's really important to note that in 2015 awards program, we were looking at shopping centers that were conceived on the drawing board in 2008 and 2009. And many of you were in the industry at that time and remember how volatile it was. And many people were putting their plans on hold. Many people were not pursuing shopping center developments because the retailers were not aggressively taking up space in 2009, 2010. So we have to consider that also, the economic environment that these entries were in. Okay, so for Asia, this was a project that Jurdy designed in Seoul, Korea. And of course, beautiful expression of the facade in a very modern shopping center look, mixed-use development. And I'm not going to tell you about each project. I'm going to let you look at the images. And if you have any questions or you want to know anything, just put up your hand. I think I have 13 minutes to go through 100 slides. So just sit back, relax, look at the pictures, and I'm happy to give you this presentation if you want it. So just give me your card and we'll send it to you. So then you have it. Because really what we're doing in ICSC is we're trying to share information. We're trying to let everyone learn from other people's experiences, and that's really what makes ICSC so strong. And we can learn a lot by looking at best practices. This project's in Singapore, GEM. Vertical, of course, most of the Asian projects are vertical with underground parking. And you can see a lot of emphasis now on making landscapes and rooftops green. A lot of municipalities are actually insisting on new buildings having green rooftops. And, we're looking always for innovative precincts in a shopping center. Look at the cookhouse on the top left. I think that's what the shopping center is doing these days, is trying to engage with the customer on a more meaningful basis. I think customers are pretty tired of KFC and Burger King. And now we're able to bring finer dining into shopping centers, and that's really a new trend. And actually, it's an interesting statistic, because when we were doing shopping malls 20 years ago, we thought 5% of the GLA for food and beverage was plenty. And then 10 years ago, we thought, well, 10% would work. Now we're finding projects, small projects, having up to 30, 35% of their space in food and beverage, and large regional malls between 15 and 20%. So it really means that food is the new anchor. No disrespect to hypermarkets, supermarkets, department stores, cinemas, but food is really an anchor for a shopping center. This is Siam Center in Bangkok. Again, typical floor plan, very vertical, very challenging to move people through the building. This High Street project, and I used to work at Abbotsford, BC. I used to manage the big shopping center there, so I know the market, I know these architects. And this is really kind of the state of the art in North America of how to do an outdoor shopping center, but have some architectural expression that makes it more interesting than just a strip plaza. And this is a pretty good entry where you can see the context of where the project has been developed and how it's anchored and how it's circulated. And for an outdoor shopping center, you can see some finer finishes and some amenities for the community. Quite beautiful, actually, and clean. Now, we always get a lot of entries from Latin America, and they have a very vibrant shopping center industry there. Many North American and European developers and investors have stakes in shopping malls in Brazil and other countries. So we have to watch what's going on there because it's an amazing story. Santiago, Chile. This is a small center, 33,000 meters. This is a renovation, so you can see one of those sad, tired strip malls with the old colonial light posts and hanging banners, and then they've changed it into this beautiful trellis walkway with animated landscape and bougainvillea. It's quite attractive. So there is hope for older centers. We have to remember, if the center has good bones, good structure, we can always tear off the facade and do other things to it to capture the consumer's imagination. Very largest center, 355 retailers, located in, that was in Brazil. And I'm going to spend some time when we get to the ultimate winner to describe, but again, you can see huge atriums and open space and lots of natural light, and we are all building shopping centers that look like this today. People don't want to feel they're in a building. They want to feel they're living on the earth, and they're feeling the movement of the sun, and they're feeling like they're inside a community. And I think this center really does a nice job of amplifying that feeling. Another Brazilian project by Multiplan. United States. Well, the United States is really not leading the way in shopping center development. Of course, they led the way in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But, the mall saturation in the United States is one of the highest per capita in the world. So the opportunities to build new regional malls is really very, very low. But there is always opportunities to improve the malls that are there, renovate them, expand them, make them more dense, add hotels, add offices. And also the American shopper is kind of tired of the Sears, JCPenney, formulaic shopping mall, and many people don't find it resonates with them. So there's a new style of projects that are coming along. This is one that Rick Caruso did in Los Angeles, I believe. It's not really a big project, but it shows how you can put retail on the main street and put some very beautiful residential above. So we don't consider this like a flagship property, but we do consider this to be a trend. So Trader Joe's on the ground floor, and then this density of residential above. And it's just a simple design, but it does make an architectural statement. It makes a lifestyle statement. And this is, if I showed you this without telling you where it is, you'd probably think Los Angeles. It just has that feel to it. Fashion outlets. This is an interesting project by Macerich, that's designed by RTKL. About 50,000 square meters of GLA. And we were excited about this because we saw some new ideas in terms of urban landscaping, urban design, urban art, urban sculptures. And you can see that, they're taking their thematics of art seriously, but it's still a traditional mall, but with some different textures and feelings to it. So another idea that you can have public art in the shopping center, why not? This is a project in Atlanta that was really taking advantage of a very strategic location with hotels and department stores in the urban core of Atlanta. And they've come up with a very, very practical design, a very beautiful renovation, and really giving, you can look at the top left and the bottom left. I mean, now you're talking about something that has excitement, it has buzz. Those brands are what people want, and now it's fresh and clean and new and well lit and very secure. I think people would be gravitated to that kind of project. Another smaller project from the United States called The Street. Again, people want to feel like they're on the main street of the small town, and this is what developers are doing to give that feeling. I was in Toronto last week, and we were looking at a project called The Shops at Don Mills, which is similar. It's a lifestyle shopping center in various buildings. And the Canadian shopper is just learning to accept this. There was a site of a 50-year-old regional mall or community mall. So changing people's habits and getting them to learn that this is a good way to shop and that this is probably somewhere you may want to relax and bring your kids on a Saturday morning. It's just that kind of new style. Now, we have developers here that are very courageous and are building outdoor, Miraz being one of the most prolific with City Walk and the beach. And, we also have Dubai Properties with JBR. So we know outdoor retailing will work in this part of the world. We just have to be sensitive to climatic issues because we need to have trading every day of the year. But this is really a great incentive for someone who wants to buy an old rundown shopping center. If the demographics are right, and if the trade area hasn't too much competition, and you can find a market niche, here's an opportunity. So we recognize this, and this takes a lot of guts to buy something that's not working well and turn it into a success story. Really, really very well done. Another project from the States in Westbury Plaza in New York. Again, pretty much a big box powerhouse center with all our favorite Starbucks and the stores that we want to see. And we're now seeing some of the larger department store formats come up with big box offerings because this is where the customers are now going. Middle East. The finalist was the Galleria at Maria Island. We know the project is very beautiful in Abu Dhabi, developed by Gulf Related, which is Mubadala and the Related Group from New York. And this is just the beginning of their story. They opened with a luxury precinct with the Cleveland Hospital, a Rosewood Hotel, and a Four Seasons Hotel, I believe. And they're now expanding into 2 million square feet behind, anchored by Bloomingdale's and Macy's. And the judges were very impressed by this project. And of course, we have to look at rentals and sales performances. And we know that this center has a bit of a challenge getting started, but we were very confident that the design was timeless and that the project would fall into place when the rest of the mall opens. These are the finalists from Europe. This is Whiteley in the UK. Now we're looking again at a more open air, not dissimilar to the ones we saw in the States. It just feels like you're in the town square. You're in the middle of the town, and it's beautifully landscaped, and it's comfortable, and people like to sit and relax and watch people go by. The Czech Republic really has been in the shopping center industry only for the last 15 years, and we're seeing new centers being built, but also some of the older centers renovated. And we know that each market has its own standards and its own level of progress through the development age. And this one's a pretty basic center, hypermarket anchored center. But also, they were willing to spend the money to upgrade and change and make sure that they were relevant for the customer today. This looks like an ECE project in Essen, Germany, near Dusseldorf. Again, ECE is very, very good. They're very prolific at shopping center development and management. And they do I believe they do most of their design and development work in-house. And they achieve excellent results, and they have wonderful relationships with all the major retailers. This is the project that won. This is Trinity Leeds in the UK. And this is owned by the Land Securities Group. And it's a great story because they started developing this mall in the end of the last decade. And they told me that it was pretty easy to get the city fathers on side because they really did have a great idea. And they weren't really decimating the downtown. They were building something that would complement the downtown. And you can see all these passageways somehow. I don't know. You can see them. I got a minute left. You can see the passageways that go through the center. And the wonderful thing about them is that they're the same connectivity that was there for hundreds of years. So these are alleys and pathways and streets that basically go into the center. This is not an air-conditioned or heated shopping center. This is not an enclosed center. It's an open-air center with a huge glass roof on top. So it's absolutely environmentally smart. It looks beautiful, and the customers seem to really love it. We have more on Trinity Leeds in here, Joanne? We don't know. You know as much as I do. Okay. I wish we did. Well, okay. So I think I'll conclude by just thanking ICSC for this important opportunity to address you about the Viva program. If you have the opportunity to look at the criteria for next year and your project is in the eligible time frame, we encourage you to enter. If you need any advice on how the entries should look, ICSC is always willing to help, and anyone on the committee can help. And I think in closing, are we closed now? We're off, right? We turn the slide off? That means don't talk anymore, Phil. Okay, thank you very much. My pleasure to address you today on such a short notice. Thanks.
I have to say, very impressive to be able to design all those slides and have them ready in just a couple of hours. So well done, beautiful visuals there. Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Shane Eldstrom, the board president for the Middle East Council of Shopping Centres, up on the stage. He's going to be taking us through the annual general meeting, and then we've got some important information for you about the gala dinner a bit later. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Right in front of you right now, we've passed out the agenda for the annual general meeting. One of the interesting things about us, we are a not-for-profit association. We are registered in Dubai, and we're therefore obliged on an annual basis to conduct an annual general meeting for the purposes of appointing auditors, approving previous minutes, and actually approving the last audit report. But as a point of governance, as the president of the association, I'm actually not entitled to chair an AGM. So I'd like to nominate Walter Kleinschmidt and ask for somebody to second that and a vote on that. I have a seconder from Simon Wilcock. All in favor? All right, I'd like to welcome Walter Kleinschmidt to the stage to chair the AGM.
As you probably have guessed, this is probably the most unpopular job of the year, and I keep being nominated for it, but I guess that's fine. It's an important event. It only takes a few minutes, but it's a matter of recognition, as Shane has indicated, that we have a public responsibility to you, and we have collectively to the authorities in terms of how we govern our association. Since we have the privilege of being incorporated here and registered in Dubai. We'll go through a process of reviewing the last year's minutes, which you've now received, of reviewing the financial statement, and of approving auditors for next year. The key appointment fundamentally is the appointment of auditors who ensure that our practices and our financial responsibility is consistent with our mandate and with the rules and regulations of this emirate. To start off, I think we want to confirm that the meeting was convened properly. You were advised, it was advertised, and the newsletter that you would have received as members, you were able to note that there was a AGM taking place. Visually, I can confirm that 10% of the membership is in attendance today, and therefore we meet the quorum requirements to make this AGM officially in compliance and open. You've seen an agenda, and I hope you've all seen it. I've outlined it, but I do need for the record an acceptance, someone to move the acceptance of the agenda, which fundamentally will review the minutes, the financials, appoint the auditor, and also a review of the bylaws which are circulated to be approved. So if someone could move the adoption of the agenda for this meeting, I appreciate it. Moved by Shane, seconded by Salma. All of those in favor of proceeding with the agenda as presented? Okay, I'm not Ron Kaufman, so I said, move your arms, please. I have trouble seeing. I've seen 2 hands, and that's not an acceptable number of nominees. I didn't think I was going to be that boring that nobody would want to move their arms. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That'd be some benefits of being here, calling for attention. Having confirmed the agenda, the first item of the agenda is to review and adopt the minutes of the last meeting. Last year at the AGM, you will recall that we did have an unprecedented event where we nominated and voted on members of the board by electronic voting and in person. And that is the main record of last year's minutes, is the adoption of the board, which was elected for a 2-year term. And the minutes include all of us that attended in the election of the board. Will someone like a move, please, the adoption of last year's minutes of the AGM? I see a hand, but I'm sorry, I can't see who. So can you give me your name, please? Okay, and seconded by? Okay. Yeah, thank you. Apologies there. It's the lights are very blinding. So the minutes have been moved and seconded. This is last year's AGM minutes. Can everybody in favor of the minutes as they were distributed? I would like you to wave one arm left or right. It doesn't matter. Thank you very much. The minutes have duly been adopted. Having adopted the minutes, I would like to ask the President to give us a few words of reporting back over the year's activities and speaking to the process, after which we'll ask Dave McAdam to give us also a report of the activities of the office of the MECSC, and then we'll go on to the more formal part of the agenda as well. Shane.
We are, of course, keeping this short and sweet. So my main task in business arising from the minutes, there was no business arising from the minutes of last year. Annual report of the President is a governance requirement that I can confirm that we held 4 board meetings, that in each of those board meetings we had a quorum, and that we oversaw the business of the corporation in the best interest of the shareholders. That's essentially what I need to say. I'll invite David to the stage here to give you guys an update on activities from the last year.
Thanks, Shane. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate your comments. And just as a brief review of our year of the MECSC, we've been very successful. I think one of the main drivers for our success in the region is our number of members and the number of the growth of our membership. And what we've done this year is we've hired on and got someone working on our behalf, Karen Price-Frank, who you might have remembered. If she's not called you, she will shortly, to increase our membership. And we've gone from high 6s to now 1,100 members in the last couple of months. So I want to thank you all for your support. It's amazing. This is the highest number we've had since the organization has been around in the 21 years. I think the other things that we have had are great success. This year we had a number of great networking events. And the one that we had in Jeddah, which was a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, we had 220 people in the same room in Saudi, which is an amazing feat by itself. And it was a great networking event. Everyone got to know each other very well. We started rebuilding old relationships and building new ones. It was a fantastic event. We also have one coming, and I invite you all to join us in Oman, in Muscat. And it's on December the 9th, and it's at Turtle Beach Resort at the Shangri-La Hotel. And Maimouna, thank you for all of your support in putting this one together. She's one of our regional representatives from Oman. But those are the kinds of events that make us as successful as we are and grow our membership and make a much more inclusive organization, which we truly appreciate. And then also I want to thank every one of you for coming today and yesterday and tonight when we have this next event, because these events are the foundation of our organization. And for you people to come and share and spend your time and investment is truly appreciated. So thank you. And I think that covers from my end, Walter. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. And I think what you've heard is really a testament of the growth of the organization and the effectiveness of our structure and of its management, because the membership is really outstanding in numbers. Shane is going to come back now to, on behalf of Shakil Hussain, present the financial statements.
All right. Shakil unfortunately couldn't be here today as we moved the meeting from yesterday, but in your package you'll have something entitled Middle East Council of Shopping Centers Financial Statements and Reports for the year ending December 31st, 2014. The auditors were appointed by the Treasurer, Morrison Menon, and they've confirmed that the books are in good order. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the audited statement of accounts. Sama, do I have a seconder? A seconder is Marie. All in favor, put your hands up. All right. See, I'm better at that. That's great. Good job, guys. All right, and I'd like to make a motion as well to appoint Morrison Menon to conduct the audit for the year ending December 31st, 2015. Do I have somebody making the motion? I think we got Simon Wilcock in the back there, seconder. I can't see, but we've got a seconder. All in favor? I need a few more hands than that, so get them up. All right. That's a majority, so thank you very much. So we will now have Morrison Menon doing the audit, and moving on to the proposition to amend the bylaws. So Salma, I think you're welcome to come up, or... All right, I'll do this part. So attached to your agenda, what you'll find... Is she coming up? Well, attached to your agenda, what you'll find is the proposed amendments to the MECSC bylaws. The bylaws have been in place for quite a long time now and really needed some sprucing up. So one of the first orders of business of the new board was to basically go through them piece by piece, add in some details and make them more relevant to the way we operate today. So invite Salma.
Hello, everyone. We've done a few amendments on the bylaws, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended bylaws. You've received them all via email late last night, and they're available on the website if anyone would like to review. So would anyone like to second that motion? David, thank you. All in favor? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Perfect. All right, fabulous. Well, thank you very much for attending. I'm sorry to spring that on you guys. We will be a little better organized next year, but I'd like to invite Katie back to the stage to close us out for the rest of the day, and we can enjoy a nice lunch. Thank you.
A little bit of information about this afternoon. I'm going to invite David as well, because we're inviting everyone up on stage at the moment. As he comes up, I'll just let you know we have a deal-making sessions at 3 o'clock today. Our invitation-only executive conversations will be running from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock today. As we mentioned, we do have our highly anticipated gala dinner and awards that will be taking place this evening. The cocktail reception will begin at 6 and the dinner at 7. Now, it isn't available for everybody. I believe that you need to have a lovely little ruby sticker on your badge pass. If you're not sure, if you come and speak to the registration desk, they'll be able to let you know. There has been such a huge demand for tickets to the event that they have very kindly rearranged the seating plan. We have one more table available. So if you didn't manage to get the chance to sign up, there is one more table available. I'm sure it will go very quickly. We're going to be celebrating the best of the best tonight for traditional marketing, new media, design and development, NOI enhancement, retail excellence, and the Retail Professional of the Year for 2020. 15. We're also going to be having a networking lunch happening now. Same place as yesterday, number 5, Lounge Bar and Terrace, up on the podium level. If you didn't get the chance to join us yesterday, it is beautiful out there. Lovely time of year. So we do hope you join us for a little bit of networking. In the meantime, thank you very much for being a part of this for the past couple of days, and I'd like to hand over to David.
Hi, and just the last few words about our gala dinner tonight. It's the highlight of our event. And every year we get a sold-out venue. And last year we were 520 roughly, and it was the same venue, but we have moved things around. We've got some smaller and larger tables, and we have 560. But we found right now going through, we have one smaller table left. So there are some spots. If anyone has any interest in joining us tonight, it's the highlight of the year for us. There's a lot of great events. It's a great event. We have a lot of awards. And this year, I can only suggest that the statue that everyone wins is about that big, so it'll be great. We really look forward to welcoming you all for that. And I think most importantly, I'd like to thank our sponsors again, and I know you can see them all on the stage behind me, but I really want to thank everyone, all of the sponsors, for all of their support financially, their time, their effort, energy, to make this event the success that it has been and will continue to do tonight. We look forward to it. So that's it for now. Lunch is upstairs, same location as yesterday. And then after that, it's networking and back to the exhibition halls, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you very much.